that came out. Christine Brennan is writing a book about Caitlin Clark. And there was an excerpt of this book that was published on CNN last night. The book is called On Her Game, Caitlin Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports. So last year, in late September, WNBA playoffs, the Connecticut Sun and the Indiana Fever have a series. Christine Brennan is covering the series because she's writing the book on Caitlin Clark. I can imagine that some of the players knew that that's why she was there. And I don't imagine that these players knew exactly who Christine Brennan is and the force behind the progress of women's sports that she has been. An incident happened where I think it was Carrington, right? Yeah, DeJounte Carrington, I guess poked Caitlin Clark in the eye and maybe had done it on purpose and then laughed about it. After the game, or actually it was the following day, it was an off day where they were doing media, Christine Brennan said to Carrington, she asked her a question, hey, did you do that on purpose? You were laughing about it afterwards, like what's going on there? You know, kind of just trying to figure out, like, because this is the stuff that spilled into this year, right? There's a little bit extra that goes into the defense of Caitlin Clark to the point where it can seem malicious at times. But that's not the crux or the premise of the book. Christine Brennan is a journalist. She saw something. She asked a legitimate question after the game, okay, separate from all the noise. But DeWanna Bonner, who was playing for the Connecticut Sun at the time, approached Christine Brennan after Brennan had asked Carrington about the incident and got in her face. Like, didn't scream or yell, but was basically like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you trying to, egg my teammate on? Like, really becoming abrasive. Christine Brennan says, I tried to shake her hand. She wasn't having it. The next day, Carrington approaches Christine Brennan and gets in her face about NaLyssa Smith, who, by the way, is her girlfriend. And both these girls went to Baylor, played for Kim Mulkey, by the way, in that 20. Remember they lost to UConn in that bubble? It was a total BS call at the end of the game. So that was that team. NaLyssa Smith, who I love, that was my first college basketball game I did. Texas Tech, Baylor on ESPN Plus, filling in for J-Mo. That was like the start for me. They clinched the Big 12, and NaLyssa Smith had like 30 points. It was awesome. Anyways, I guess Carrington had heard, or it was just like whispered down the lane, that Christine Brennan was saying NaLyssa Smith was a bad teammate, right? So Carrington approaches her and says, stop talking SHIT about NaLyssa Smith saying she's a bad teammate. Okay, all this happens, and I kind of get it. Like, it's these players are like very reactive. It's a very sensitive topic for a journalist to come in and ask questions about Caitlin Clark and the physical activity and maybe some of the extra physical activity and some of the attitude, right? Like the laughing after Carrington poked her in the eye. By the way, the incident I just told you about, I have two people, a PR person and another woman on the Sun had to actually remove Carrington from that situation. Or I think it was, let me get that right. It was, yeah, they had to get Carrington, give me a second here. Yeah, they had to separate Carrington, was kind of removed from that situation with Christine Brennan, okay? Then a representative from the WNBA says this to Christine Brennan, okay? This is a WNBA executive. Quote, unfortunately, most of our players have zero idea what real media exposure is. They don't know what real coverage is. They have been shielded in college, and then they come to the WNBA not knowing what real questions are. Frankly, our players just don't get it, okay? So that's a WNBA executive echoing the sentiments that so many people have been saying recently, right? That we just saw in the wake of that Caitlin Clark being voted ninth best point guard of the WNBA. A lot of stuff that I think is rubbish, right? But this is not. See, this to me is eye-opening and important. An executive from the WNBA is saying, don't even worry about it, Christine Brennan. These young athletes are clueless as to how to deal with real media. Christine Brennan, obviously, USA Today columnist, written many books. I talked about her involvement as a pioneer for women's sports, okay? So then the next statement I got to read you, okay? Because the Players Association from the WNBA went ahead and said this, okay. You are not fooling anyone. No. Here's how it started off. This was the WNBA Players Association issued a statement. To unprofessional members of the media like Christine Brennan, you are not fooling anyone. That so-called interview in the name of journalism was a blatant attempt to bait a professional athlete into participating in a narrative that is false and designed to fuel racist, homophobic, misogynistic vitriol on social media. You cannot hide behind your tenure. That's embarrassing for the WNBA Players Association. And honestly, I wasn't looking at this close enough where I saw that last year. First of all, to get political and throw all those words in there, it's like a triggering word salad, right? Like that, I can't speak to the seriousness of any of that because I know that it is extremely serious, but I'm not a part of any of those walks of life, right? So I just know to accept it, respect it, and I'm just like, whoever wants to do whatever they want to do, that's fine, right? I don't think about that at all. Well, apparently these players did, and they tried to kind of throw that on Christine Brennan, somebody who's right. Christine Brennan, I can promise you, is not looking to ignite some kind of infighting between players in the WNBA. She's trying to figure out what's going on. If anything, she probably wants to give both sides of the story in this book that's probably going to kick ass when it comes out. And I'll bet you this book is not going to be some kind of like glowing up on a mountain Caitlin Clark stands. It's going to be a legitimate book that dissects the revolution behind Caitlin Clark and her success and how it's moved women's basketball forward. This is the problem, okay? Like excuse me, I'm getting excited and I'm burping. First of all, this is something that I am so interested in. As a guy who's always loved women's hoops, worked around women's hoops, has always and I've disagreed with, Christine Brennan has written a lot of, she's been a lightning rod in different instances and circumstances covering sports. And I've not always agreed with her, but damn, I've always respected her. And the inability for the powers that be in the WNBA to convey to their players what she means, why she was there, really why she was there. Not like, oh, this girl's here writing a book about Caitlin Clark. It's going to be, she's coming to stoke up all kinds of nonsense. Like, clearly the message has been missed. And this illustrates, this is reality around all the noise that we hear. And honestly, me as a sports fan, you try to diffuse. I said yesterday or last week, this is not a big deal. The fact that Caitlin Clark's opponents didn't vote her the #1 point guard in all the WNBA in a season where she's missed almost half the year. I think at this point she has missed half of the games, right? Like, of course, like that doesn't shock me, and I'm not clutching my pearls. This is worrisome. This is really worrisome. The fact that there is that much sensitivity around certain questions asked by an estimable journalist simply because they're connected to Caitlin Clark, and they garner such a reaction out of some of these players to the point where, like, they're getting in the face of one of the best journalists to ever cover women's sports. Hey, that is real, and that is eye-opening, right? I think that article, those two statements, one by the member of the WNBA and two, one by the Players Association surrounding this situation, really reflect a lot of, I guess, the state of affairs right now in the WNBA and the reception that Caitlin Clark gets from other members of the WNBA. Remember, DeWanna Bonner, who was the head of the snake in this story, signed with the Fever. But then she was cut, and she's still a free agent right now. Nalissa Smith, I think, has been traded. She's still, I mean, not like this is like page 6, but she's still with DeJounte Carrington. And, hey, I think the only positive thing about this is that the two of them met while they were playing at Baylor. So that's good. I mean, I'm all for a love story. And I would imagine that can become tough when you're dating someone and you feel like they're being attacked. So there's a lot to unpack here, but the number one thing that I've unpacked that is this big ugly thing taken out of the suitcase is that the executive in the WNBA says the players don't get it, and the Players Association comes with that response that solidifies and confirms that they don't get it. They better get it soon. They better get it soon because the train could leave the station. There's all kinds of talk about if Caitlin Clark were to start her own league, if that money train were to leave, like the WNBA would be in trouble. Now, I'm not saying these players aren't phenomenal at what they do, and I don't love watching the sport, but there is a celebration and energy and attention being paid now to women's basketball that was never there before, and if Caitlin Clark were to separate, could never be there again to this specific league. So that's my sentiments on that. I saw that yesterday. I was kind of fired up. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about sports again, like on the field. And also, we're going to take you to the movie theater. I saw F1 this weekend. Phenomenal. I've got a review, though. I'm going to tell you where Brad Pitt fits best on the other side of this break. Slovacics, thank you very much. We are presented by Slovacics. Go to West. I was kind of sped up this morning because we had to get to Pete Mundo. But go to West. Go see Ray. Stop off. Get a kolache. You don't even have to tell them that I sent you. I don't care. Just go. All right? We'll be right back.